Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're setting the stage for an incredible visual journey into the creation and the opening chapters of one of India's most ancient, absolute powerhouse epics, the Ramayana. I'm honestly so excited to guide you through this, because we're not just looking at some dusty history text here. We're talking about a story packed with cosmic battles, deep human emotion, and timeless moral dilemmas. But before we even meet our heroes, I've got to ask you something. What does a grieving bird have to do with one of the world's oldest epics? I know, it sounds like a totally bizarre place to start a sweeping tale of princes and demons, right? But as we're going to see, this grand story actually kicks off with a moment of really profound, totally relatable sorrow. Let's unpack how a sudden tragedy sparked an absolute literary revolution. Section 1. The First Poet's Grief. So we're tracing the origin of the physical text itself back to the emotional awakening of a legendary sage. Because, actually, the Ramayana doesn't start with its main character, Lord Rama. It begins with its author. The wandering sage Valmiki was just walking near the river one day, taking in a beautifully clear stream. Right nearby, he spots two croucha birds, they're a type of crane, happily mating. Then, out of nowhere, an arrow flies from the brush, striking and killing the male bird. The female bird just wailed in absolute agony. Valmiki was totally overcome with his intense sorrow, or shloka as it's called in Sanskrit. And from that deep emotional shloka, a brand new rhythmic poetic meter spontaneously burst from his lips, the shloka. He spoke this very first verse: "O hunter, may you ne'er be blessed, nor reach the realm of timeless rest, for thou hast rent this croncha pair while they were joined in love most rare." You can literally hear the heartbreak. This raw, unedited emotion transformed Valmiki instantly. He realized he had just spoken in a perfectly structured, four-line verse with 8 syllables each. In that split second, he became the Adi Kavi, the world's first poet. And get this, he would go on to use this exact poetic form to write the entire 24,000 verses of the Ramayana. Now, Valmiki's own backstory, it is just as fascinating. He wasn't always this wise, gentle sage. Originally, he was a highway thief named Loha Jangha, who literally robbed people in the forest. This went on until he tried to rob 7 great sages. Big mistake. They showed him the error of his ways and gave him a mantra to chant. He meditated so deeply and for so long that anthills actually formed entirely over his body. Seriously, that's exactly what the name Valmiki means, from an anthill. Talk about a glow-up, right? From a desperate thief to the world's first poet? Section 2. A king without an heir. Let's shift our focus seamlessly from the epic's creator to the incredible universe he created. We're cracking open the very first book of the Ramayana, the Balakanda, which translates from Sanskrit as the Book of Childhood. It's this foundational chapter that brilliantly sets up both the very human heartache and the massive cosmic problems of our story. Let's look at exactly what's at stake here. Enter King Dasharatha of Ayodhya. He's a ruler from the ancient solar dynasty, and we're talking a lineage so old they trace their roots back to the sun god himself. He's got immense earthly wealth, a vast kingdom, and, according to the epic, the guy is 60,000 years old. But despite all this massive outward success, he lives a deeply sad life. Why? Well, he has 3 queens, but no son to inherit his kingdom. It just goes to show, it really doesn't matter how powerful you are, human heartache is totally universal. Meanwhile, up in the heavens, the gods are having a completely different crisis. The demon king Ravana has been terrorizing the universe because he managed to score a massive boon of invincibility. He asked to be protected from gods, demons, celestial snakes, and devils. But in his supreme arrogance, Ravana completely forgot to ask for protection from ordinary humans. He just thought they were way too weak to matter. So, because of this cosmic loophole, the great god Vishnu decides he's got to step in to restore balance. But to bypass Ravana's invincibility clause, Vishnu has to be born on Earth as a mortal man. Section 3. The Divine Nectar. Okay, so how do we connect a sad, childless king down on Earth with a god needing a human form up in the heavens? Through an absolutely spectacular ritual. To solve his lack of an heir, King Dasharatha's guru advises him to perform the Putra Kameshti Yagna. It's this grand, blazing fire sacrifice. We're talking flames reeking sky high. And then something incredible happens. A majestic, literally mountainous celestial being steps right out of the fire. Dressed in red and black, with a mane like a lion, he hands the nervous, trembling King Dasharatha a dazzling golden pot filled with payasam, a magical, sweet, divine nectar. Dasharatha is absolutely euphoric. He's instructed to divide this nectar among his wives. So he gives half of the precious nectar to his first wife, Queen Kausalya. Then a quarter goes to Queen Kaikeyi. Finally, he gives the remaining portions to his deeply pious and virtuous third wife, Queen Sumitra. So if you do the math, Sumitra actually ends up drinking a double portion of the magical porridge. Keep that in mind, because it's going to have a very specific, amazing result.
Section 4. 4 Princes of Ayodhya.
Let's jump the timeline forward 12 months. The divine nectar has done its work, and it's time for a kingdom-wide celebration that Ayodhya will never forget. Queen Kausalya gives birth to Rama, who is the actual human incarnation of the god Vishnu, born with this glowing, translucent complexion. Queen Kaikeyi gives birth to Bharata, and Queen Sumitra? Well, because she drank that double portion of the divine nectar, she naturally gives birth to twins, Lakshmana and Shatrugna. The entire kingdom is overjoyed. Taxes are literally canceled for 7 years. Gems are given away left and right, and Ayodhya has 4 beautiful new princes. Section 5. The Brothers' Unbreakable Bond. Now, a family of 4 royal brothers could so easily become a story of toxic rivalry, but their divine origins created bonds that could just never be broken. There's this incredibly charming little anecdote from the palace nursery. The queens had a major problem on their hands. All 4 babies were crying continuously, and absolutely nothing would soothe them. Enter the great sage Vasishta to solve the cradle puzzle. He surveys the room, thinks for a second, and simply rearranges the babies. He takes Lakshmana and places him right next to Rama. Then he takes Shatrugna and places him next to Bharata. Bam! Almost instantly, the crying stops. The babies cling to each other and start smiling. It was such a brilliant, simple way to reveal the inseparable, intertwined destinies of these brothers. And, that unified force just continued as they grow up. Rama and Lakshmana were virtually glued to each other. Rama wouldn't even eat or sleep unless Lakshmana was right there. Eventually, the 4 boys were sent to the sage's ashram for their education, where they completely mastered the scriptures and became absolute natural experts in archery and horsemanship. But their ultimate goal wasn't just to be skilled warriors, right? It was to prepare to serve society with profound virtue. Section 6. Lessons of the Ramayana. We've spent this explainer living in the really idyllic, peaceful world of the Balakanda. But to truly understand this epic, we have to zoom out and look at its broader legacy. Notice those rough bark garments our heroes are eventually forced to wear? The peace of Ayodhya, sadly, doesn't last. A cruel twist of fate and jealousy will force Rama into a sudden 14-year exile deep into the dangerous forest. And this triggers a massive domino effect: tragic abduction, terrifying demons, and epic, literally earth-shaking battles. All that childhood training we just learned about, it's about to be put to the ultimate test.
And that brings us to why this text matters so much even to us today. The Ramayana isn't just an adventure story, it is a moral compass. Through Rama's exile, we see absolute obedience to parents. Through Lakshmana and Bharata, we see unwavering loyalty among brothers. We see deep devotion, true friendship, and ultimately the absolute victory of truth over evil. It beautifully structures the ancient concept of dharma, one's righteous duty and moral path. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. How can the ancient duties of dharma guide our modern lives today? I mean, the Ramayana was born from a moment of raw grief, yet it grew into this incredible blueprint for living with honor, love, and resiliency. Whether you're a 60,000-year-old king, a poet born from an anthill, or just someone trying to navigate modern everyday challenges, the lessons of duty and truth remain entirely eternal. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep exploring the incredible world of the Ramayana.